We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
John Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.
To me, Tom Brady is the GOAT because he's done more with less than any player at that position we've ever had. All right, welcome in, peeps. It is Wednesday, the day before the draft. Everybody's mocking up, and we will discuss some mock draft here in a second. If he's able to get out of a meeting, and it's an important, we'll have a phenomenal guest join us who covers this, watches it in person, really more than anybody that's doing mock drafts or anybody else, and he's phenomenal at it. So it's one of those things, hey, man, if the guest show, boom, pop them on. We're Johnny Carson. Let's go. Along with myself, my partner, Adam G. Sager, every single day. Catch him on Twitter at Adam G. Sager, and myself at Sean Unfiltered, our great producer, Bailey, Laura, who does so much for us to get all our stuff out there. And all of you for joining in. It's time, Sags. I'm burned out by this, but before we get to mock draft, I do want a team that's going to have some players drafted high in this. Mekhi Lemon, probably the first Trojan taken off the board with the USC Trojans. And I do want to discuss, and I know you have what Lincoln Riley said.
Yeah.
But this USC Trojan team, Segs, and it fits because it's college, it's NFL, Lincoln Riley. I've said with Gary Patterson, with the way they've gone about putting a fence around LA for the most part, I know it's taken a while. And I know that this team is championship talent. But I think there's a maturity level that they're ready to take that next step. I've been telling you this all. There's a different feeling for me and some of the former players that play there that they're feeling. Now, our feeling doesn't mean shit if they can't go out and execute, right, Segs? But you have to take the off-season steps to have the in-season dominance.
Yeah.
And it will be overly inexcusable if this USC Trojan team, when we're all said and done, Segs, you're getting used to your Michigan team being in the playoffs. If this USC Trojan team is not in the 16 and playing for a chance to win a national championship this year, I'm talking 3 years, I'm talking about this year, heads will roll on that campus. I'm just telling you that's going to happen if the negative happens. I'm leaning more on the positive side. I think Lincoln Riley, and I know you got some stuff for me on this, Lincoln Riley's team, I think is the most focused and mature, even though they're young, that they're not expecting to be there. I mean, they're not hoping to be there. They expect to be playing for a chance. And it takes a minute, and it's taken longer than people want. They can score from anywhere on the field. The question is, can they get off the field defensively? And with Gary Patterson, I think they will. I think this is the biggest moving year in Lincoln Riley's career, not just to get to USC, but to stay there. This is a big move, and I think the support will be there, and I think he'll get them in the playoff. And then you got to do damage in the playoff six. Good to have you on today, brother.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a few minutes, but let's start NFL Draft Eve. Draft is tomorrow. Like Sean said, we're all sick of hearing the rumors. We're all sick of hearing, oh, this team's going to do this, and then another guy says, nope, that same team is going to do the exact opposite. So we've got some of the final mock drafts coming out today. Peter Schrager put his out. Todd McShay, I think, put his final one out. So we're seeing some. Lance Zierlein, our buddy back in Houston,
does a great job.
He put his out. So we're starting to see trends, and the biggest question is still going to be at that number 3 spot. So again, yesterday we talked about all this stuff, but looking at Ari, I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong, Marov. Hopefully that's right. His mock draft he has here. We'll kind of go through that along with Peter Schrager's that I have here. To kind of talk about number 2, obviously number 1's locked in. We don't need to talk about Fernando Mendoza anymore. David Bailey seems locked in. Everybody has David Bailey going 2 to the Jets. Every mock draft I've seen this morning has David Bailey going 2, except
Other than Ari.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was just going to say, except Ari Mirov. He has Arvell Reese. So, like I said, McShay, Schrager, Zerline, someone else. I can't remember that fourth one I looked at. All had David Bailey at 2. We've had David Bailey at 2.
Was it Zerline you had him at 2, Segs? Was that possible?
Zerline had him at 2.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's pretty locked in. Now, Ian Rappaport did say it's between Arvell Reese and David Bailey. But normally when you get kind of a consensus amongst most of these big-time mock draft people, it's leaning that way. Unless something crazy happens in the next 24 hours, for 32 hours, whatever it is, until the draft starts. I think it'll be David Bailey. It's that number 3 pick that changes everything.
That some people think that's where the draft starts. Don't tell David Bailey, and we don't call him Fernando on this show. I'll just reiterate that. Nando, okay? That Nando gets taken. Real quick, that is got to take him. He's not the best player in this draft. Best quarterback in this draft right now, yes, it's a must for the Raiders. That's going to happen, and I think he'll be a good player. The question is, will he be a franchise changer? And if our guest comes on, I'm going to ask him the same thing. David Bailey, to me, his motor, everything about him says take him. I think he's a can't miss, and I think he's a safe pick. Reese is so gifted and so talented, but he's a true edge rusher, and I think at 2. It gets to 3 now, and now we're talking about a team, Segs, that needs a lot.
Yes.
They need a running back. They need a future at quarterback. I know they're going through the negotiations. Brissett wants more money. And for a guy who was supposed to be in this league, a backup, fill in, win some games, and stand on the sides, I think Jacoby Brissett deserves a lot more respect than he's got. But they got
he's had a good career.
Damn right he has, considering, say, he wasn't a first-round pick, has been in places. But everywhere he's gone, he's been called upon to win. And now he's the guy, and he deserves more money, and I think that's a matter of respect. But Arizona running back has been talked about in Love. They talk about Reese, or depending on who's available, if Reese is taken second. We've talked about playmakers. We've talked about, do you get another stud offensive line? This is a team right now that controls it, because I think that's a trade spot that somebody could get into, Segs, if they wanted something, if they loved Jeremiah Love or somebody else. And I just think the Arizona Cardinals are in a position to do a lot of movement. They need a lot of help there. And I think that most think that it's going to be, it's Jeremiah Love. I don't think most think that. To me, that feels a little high, Segs, but he may very well be the best at his position. At his position, he's as good at his position as anybody else is at theirs in this draft. And I firmly believe that. The question is, do you want to spend a 3rd pick of the draft on Arizona? I'm going to disagree here. I'm going to say they're not going with Love there, but he's still going to be a top 10 pick. What say you?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Monty Alsonfort, the GM that's there, been there a little bit. Word came out yesterday after our show, at least this is when I saw it, that it's Michael Bidwell, the owner, who's really pushing for Jeremiah Love. And whenever an owner jumps in and kind of starts moving, kind of moving chairs around, kind of forcing his power, that's when we see picks like this happen. And Sean, we could probably go through and name 10 of them where an owner came in, and the Raiders' former owner, Al Davis, did it multiple times, where he came in and he forced the GM's hand and said, no, this is who we're picking. A lot of it's for ticket sales. A lot of it's for that spark, that buzz that the team gets when they go get a guy like a Jeremiah Love, who's a big name, instead of maybe going for the better value or the better player or whatever it is. How often does this not work out when an owner interjects himself into the NFL draft, especially in the early rounds? I get if it's late 6th round and there's a former scout that you love that's close to your family. He's got a kid there that's
a fraternity brother with the dad, and the guy's a decent player, right?
He's on that cusp that you think he could maybe be a player, and you know what? We're going to take him here. Fine, whatever. It's a 6th round pick. When you're talking the 3rd overall pick and you're going to force a player, even as good as Jeremiah Love, onto your new head coach and your GM, it's a big red flag for me.
I'm going to say this is about as blatant as I can say it, and with a quick sidebar story that'll go fast. if Michael Bidwell makes this pick. Now, if he chooses Jeremiah Love and everybody in the building agrees, the football people agree, because you and I both know that Jeremiah Love, we think that Jeremiah Love's a hell of a player. We also think that taking trading up to get a guy, although Arizona's in a position to take him without trading, if somebody trades up in the top 5, that would bother me a little bit. I think he is a great friggin' player. Oh, by the way, real quick. Hey, my man, could we send our guy the link again to his email? Because I'm going to leave it out. Send the link again to his email because he's ready to come on. Sorry to interrupt, Segs, but it's live. It's live stuff, man. So send it to him, Bailey, so he gets that, and we'll jump him on. But while we're waiting, Segs, so Love's a great player, and I do think at his position he's as good at his as anybody else. Quick story before I get it. If you let Michael Bidwell make this, these don't work out. Now, I think Love will, but if 8 guys in the room are saying, we want somebody else, stick to yours. You can't be a doctor working as an orthopedic surgeon and then be my lawyer as well. Know your expertise, know your money. You were daddy's kid and you're running that. You sign the paychecks. Sign the fucking paychecks and get out of everybody else's way. Unless the room, the general manager and the head coach agree with you. Segs, I have never said this in my life. And it's not the only reason, but was part of it. When Denny Green offered me the quarterback coach in Arizona, he said, let's walk down that tunnel one more time. I flew out to Arizona. It was the Matt Leinart year that they drafted him. Love Matt, as you know. It didn't work out pros like wanted to. Right. They drafted him. But before that, had a nameplate, flew out, had my office. Denny Green and I actually started talking about the draft. Had my office. It was 11th hour. I turned down the job. He said, go home, make your decision. We were in Arizona. He said, go home, make your decision, take a couple of days. Let's walk down this tunnel together again, and we'll see. I didn't end up taking the job. Young kids, had a great gig at ESPN. If I had to do it over again, we all have regrets. I would have taken it. I would have. Unfortunately, 8 games or 7 games into the year, Denny fired the offensive coordinator, and usually Keith Rowan took over offensive line coach, but usually the quarterback coach. Yeah, a lot of times the next guy. That. So it happens. You know, you make decisions, and I regret it because I love Denny and God rest his soul. I've never said this out loud. Do you know a big reason at that point in time? Not that I would have changed Arizona's fortunes. I don't mean that. But you know why I didn't take it? About 35 or 40% of the reason I didn't take it. And we say young kids, and my kids were young. That's okay. Yeah. Matter of fact, I would probably be gone more because of travel when I was doing ESPN broadcasting. I would going home every day when you're traveling a day and a half a week, but you're home late at night. But I'd be home to put your kids to bed and all that. And I didn't trust the Bidwell family because they were the volatility. I didn't trust that if I take this job and leave television, can I go back to TV? What if in a year or two? And it ended up in a couple of years, people were fired. Yeah. It went the other way. Then after that, Kurt Warner comes in. I think it was Kenny Wisenhunt that took him Super Bowl. Yeah. You know, you never know how it's going to work out. We all think that we're good enough to change the fortunes of a franchise, but a big reason as a young guy, I did not trust that they were long for anything. Which leads to, and Big Dad was there, you know, the whole thing. It's no, I don't have a problem with the Bidwell family, but there was that, man, they had this reputation of moving and not trusting the franchise and bad hires, all the things that surrounded the Bidwell family. Sure, they're good people, but that was part of the percentage of a reason came into my decision. I turned down the quarterback coach job at Arizona because of it. Now they went on fine and had great coaches, and that's fine. But it did play into it. And here we are all these years later, and you're going to let an owner make the decision? He signs the paychecks. These usually don't work out, although if it's love, I hope everybody loves what they're doing is on the same page. I think it's a mistake if the owner makes a decision. You may love him and you may try to nudge it. Let the football guys make their decision, and you sign paychecks and get the hell out of the way. If you want to be the GM, then call up Jerry and ask him how that works.
Exactly.
Doesn't work. Okay?
Exactly.
Stay out of it. The good ones stay out of it. And they hire great football people. If you want to meddle, don't meddle in your draft. Okay, leave it alone. I understand the star power that love brings.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, Austin Fort and company would love to move down and acquire more picks. And if that's the Cowboys, if that's, you know, we've heard the Chiefs coming up for a defensive end. We've heard the Saints popping up for a defensive end. So we'll see what the Arizona Cardinals do at 3. At 4, we talked about the Titans yesterday. What do they do if one of Arvell Reese and or David Bailey is sitting there? I think it'll be one of those two guys sitting there possibly when they pick at 4. Do they take one of those guys? there's been McShay and these guys have passed on that pass rusher. Now, Ari has David Bailey going here, but Schefter, I believe Zerline, Schrager. Schrager has the Titans passing on Arvell Reese to go Sonny Styles. And that's the pick everybody else has. So this is one of those ones that it feels like it's Sonny Styles at 4. But Sean, before we do that, our guest is here and ready for you.
There you go. Well, let's he probably needs no introduction. He doesn't. And now we got it all situated. The guy's got a million things going on. And he's taking time for us. Welcome in our guy, Kirk Herbstreit. Obviously, College Game Day, the best pregame show in the world. He's been doing it for like 74 years now, flying. It's big time, man. Can you hear me? Can you can't hear me? I don't speak sign language, so yeah, exactly. We'll try to get that settled on your end and that. We'll obviously Kirk obviously does the prime Thursday night game with Al Michaels in the NFL. He does College Game Day and does the nighttime.
Yeah, maybe if you could
game.
Refresh Kirk, sometimes that gets the audio going.
There you go. We'll try to get him back going.
Yeah, it's
I give all these things that he does. We know, does the prime the NFL game on Thursdays with Alex Seggs, and nobody covers it more than him. I mean, he's NFL game watching those guys. We're in college and in the NFL, going to College Game Day, goes and does that, then does the night game with Chris Fowler, the primetime game. So having Kirk on, nobody knows he's an Ohio State guy, and there's 27 dudes going to be drafted in the first round at Ohio State. So we got that too, Seggs. So there's a ton going on. We'll try to get that taken care of on the sound. He was up early with his dog flying to Pittsburgh. He may still not be able to hear us. And if you do, thumb me up if you can't. So we're still working on that, and we will. But Seggs, at that pick and 4.
Sonny Styles just fits Robert Saleh perfectly.
Yeah, that's the exact.
Who's the one guy that was his focal point in that San Francisco defense? Fred Warner.
There's no question.
Who's a freak athleticism.
And I would argue the best at his position in this league.
Yes. And that's what Sonny Styles can bring, while also, like I've talked about multiple times, he can give you some stuff off the edge. If you have a couple linebackers you like, and you want, you get into your nickel or you get into a pass rush situation where it's 3rd and 15, you can slide Styles down to the corner or to the edge and let him rush off the edge. I think with Arvell Reese, I think he's more trying to make that Micah Parsons move now, where we're going to the edge permanently for the most part, 95% playing edge.
And I get the disruptive part of Arvell Reese, but I also get this part. There's certain guys and coaches, and when a guy just fits perfectly to what you're doing, then you plug him in and you go. I agree that Sonny Styles, but a guy who knows that university as good as anybody, knows college football, College Game Day, primetime game with Chris Fowler, and also does the prime game on Thursday night NFL game with Al Michaels. Kirk Herbstreit joins us. What's going on, brother? Appreciate the time. You were in one of those long production meetings this morning, right? Coffee galore.
Oh, you've been there. You've been there. You know what's up.
Yes, I do. It's great to have you on, brother. I appreciate you.
Great
I hope
to be
you're
with
enjoying
both.
some of your time off. If this is
Yeah.
time off, I hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's been great. Look, as long as he's with me, life is. I mean, how do you look at that face right there and not have a good time? I mean,
listen. Dogs are everything. I know kids are too, but dogs are everything, brother. And even when you're having a bad day, he doesn't give a rat's ass, right? It's like, that's Pops, and I'm coming home, and the walk will set you clear-minded.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us, my man. My favorite dude on the planet. Let's start here. We're just talking about, and we'll go back up. There's so many questions I have for you. But here's how I want you to approach this. You've seen all these guys. You study tape, not only for the draft, but for each week of your preparation. You're going to be the general manager and coach of these NFL teams. You're picking today. Fair enough? When we go, I want you to think for them like them, because I think you do that anyway because you got the college and NFL covered. We're talking about Reese and Sonny Styles, Robert Saleh in Tennessee. So we're talking about that 4th pick, and we'll move our way back up with you since we got you on. Robert Saleh, Fred Warner, pretty good. In this situation, what fits Tennessee better? Those two, or would you go to the running back? Where do you go if you're Tennessee? Reese, Styles, Jeremiah Love, or somebody else, my man?
Well, you guys know in the AFC South, I live in Nashville, so I was just with Brian Dable and Robert Saleh just a few weeks ago at an event, and they're fired up, and they should be. Right now, you got a new stadium going up. You don't have a lot of buzz other than Cam Ward. That stadium opens in 27. This is a franchise that's just been kind of struggling over the last 3 or 4 years since Mike Vrabel left. And they're just kind of trying to find their way. So you got a new head coach. You got this stadium going up. Think about it as a Houston Texans. Think about one guy, eliminate Cam Ward. Name a guy on the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I can't in my mind, but I can't name them all. That's exactly.
But I mean,
right.
I'm just saying, like, when they were in their glory years and years ago, and even when we moved to Nashville in 2011, we got season tickets. You pull up to the stadium, and there's a big, huge mural of Eddie George, and you go around the other side. There's Steve McNair. That was like in the late '90s,
Right.
And then they had the run with Vrabel where they put it all together and got close against Mahomes. It came up short. But since then, they don't, other than Cam Ward, they just don't have a guy. And I say all that to say it's natural with Saleh to assume they would go with Reese if he's available, or with Sonny Styles, or even Ruben Bain. But I think they need difference makers. I personally think Jeremiah Love might be the best player in the entire draft. And I think if he's still sitting there at 4, I think it would be hard to imagine, as much as they need defensive help because they got to get after the quarterback. That's obviously a weakness of theirs. I think they have a hard time not pulling the trigger on Love, because he is, to me, in this era of, I think the running backs are making a comeback. I think there's so much too high now in the NFL. I think multiple tight end sets. I think running game. I think finding linemen that can come off the ball and pound people. I think these are all things that are very, very high on the board because of the way the game is trending. And then a running back. If you can't find a big, huge Derrick Henry type of guy, you got to find that Jahmyr Gibbs. You got to find that Bijan Robinson. You got to find that Christian McCaffrey. And I'm not trying to compare him to say he's going to be that. I just think his skill set leaving college is that. He can line up, you can motion him out, he can create matchup problems out on the perimeter, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, he can run between the tackles, he runs with physicality. We know what he can do on the outside zone. If he can stretch and hit a crease, he can go 80 on you. So he's a 3-down back, and I just think because of all the things that franchise needs, I think you got to address the difference maker. If he's there, I'd be shocked if they didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, it feels like you've been a daily guy on this show, because Segs and I have talked about this. I said before you came on, I think he's as good at his position and dominant as anybody is at their position in this draft. And you can make that case. I think that he's the safest pick, barring injuries that happen. I think he's a guy 8 years from now we're still talking about as a great player in the league. So with that in mind, would you trade up to get him? Would you, if you're Arizona, Arizona's sitting there, would you take him for Arizona? But would you trade up to get a top 5 running back in the top 5 and give up other picks? Is he that good to where he's a franchise-changing running back?
I think he is. I don't know based on all these mock drafts. Who knows how real those are? Go through the list. You guys are doing it right now. Go. Who do you guys have in these first 3 picks? Like, what's the consensus after Fernando?
We had David Bailey second.
I feel like everybody's saying that.
And there's one, Ari, depending on who you are, have Love at 3rd to Arizona, and or the Arvell, Reese, Sonny Styles talk, 3-4 in that range. That's where it is. But a lot of people, the majority say David Bailey at number 2, and we can get to that. But when you go up and down, and I think I don't want to say weak at other positions. It's not a quarterback class. I mean, a great quarterback draft. There's some good receivers. There's some good edge rushers. You know this better than I because you're with it. But you're going to pencil him in the second he grabs a jersey from Roger Goodell in his hat. I mean, he's getting off the team bus and a difference maker immediately, right, Kirk? And that's what they need with the stadium. Like you said, they need a needle mover, not only on the field, but off it, right?
Yeah. And again, I'm a big proponent of when you go out and get a quarterback that you think is the guy. And this new regime has come out and with Dable and Saleh have said they think Cam Ward can be a guy, which is great. Okay, the next thing is, and it's what the Raiders are going to face with Mendoza, is what are you doing up front? Think about what Joe Burrow's life has been like in Cincinnati. Yeah, he's got Jamar Chase and he's got T. Higgins. Every time he drops back to throw, he's getting earholed. So God bless him for being able to overcome that. But just think how good Joe Burrow could be if he had an offensive line that was taking care of him. So if you're Cam Ward and they think he can be a guy, you got to put pieces around him. Look what they have around him right now. I mean, if he's your guy, you got to go all in. In an offensive league, you got to go all in and find some guys that can help this guy so he doesn't feel like he has to do it all himself, or you have to go 12 plays and 80 yards. There just isn't anybody on that roster right now. Calvin Ridley's getting up there. And, I don't know if they still go out through free agency or are able to pick up some guys, but they need people that can come in and scare a defense. And right now you don't have that around Cam Ward. So I don't know if you have to move up. I think if you look at the Cardinals, they have so many needs. I think they're okay at running back. I would see them probably going a different route. So you're rolling the dice a bit. But I think they'll go Arvell Reese would be my guess there at 3 if he's available. And then I think you're sitting there at 4, and I think you got who you want. And unless you're going to go to Robert Saleh's tradition and his history as a coordinator and head coach, which is 8 or 9 defensive linemen that are game wreckers. I mean, that's another way to try to win games. But if he's sitting there on the board at 4, I personally would be really surprised if they don't go with Jeremiah Love.
Obviously, you guys know the face of the voice. Kirk Herbstreit joins us here on Unpaved. All right, Herbie, let me just jump back up. We don't have to spend much time. It's pretty obvious the Raiders are taking Mendoza, and they've had a lot of trouble over the years. Number 12's in the building now, and to help, I would hope, evaluate this stuff. But what am I going to be saying about Fernando Mendoza in 2032? What are we going to be saying about it?
Well, you know how this is. Trying to forecast a player. Look at Sam Darnold when he went to the Jets. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, Sam Darnold, we all loved him coming out of SC. And then he went to the Jets. And they didn't have the scheme that fit him. They didn't have the players. Maybe he wasn't ready. Whatever it was, I'm sure it's a combination of a lot of different things. Same with Bake in Cleveland. I mean, you can go round and round, right? So it's very hard. I love the fact that Tom Brady is there because nobody knows, obviously, not just the way he played, but a mind of the game. And I know one of the things Brady talks about a lot, and I completely agree doing college and pro the last 30 years. When I started, Brian Griese was the quarterback at Michigan, and then Tom Brady took over right after that. So I've seen Tom Brady from being a young player with Drew Henson and all the politics. So we got to play Henson or he's going to go to the Yankees all the way through his career. And I've always been a massive fan of his because of the way he can beat you with his mind. And I think, this is my opinion, Kirk Cousins signing, you may look at that and be like, whatever, he's up in age. What's the big deal? To me, that's like having another offensive coordinator in the room to help Fernando Mendoza. And maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't, but just having him in that room, you could not have handpicked a better guy to help with a quarterback that's not going to beat you as a dual guy. He's going to have to beat you with his mind, and he's going to have to beat you with his ability to process, see it pre-snap, see it post-snap, which he did at IU, and then make good decisions and get the ball to the right people, be a distributor. People call that a game manager. I'll take that all day. If you've got the pieces around that position. I think they have 10 picks, so they're going to have a chance to really load up with Kubiak in his first draft as a head coach there with the Raiders. They need wide receivers. It's one thing to talk about Mendoza, but it's another franchise that's got to be able to find some people. They got the back with Genty, but they got to find some people to help the tight end and the back, and they need people on the perimeter. So first step is getting Mendoza, and Tom Brady, he's gonna eventually find a way to get some pieces around him. I love this kid. I mean, I was late to the party, first one to admit. I just, because he doesn't jump off the film to make you go, holy cow, this dude. But man, you watch him at Oregon, and what Eugene, Oregon, at Autzen Stadium, you can't hear yourself think. And he throws a pick late, and then drives them down at a critical drive and wins the game. Penn State, people can say Penn State
That was
sucked.
the best drive of the year. That was
Of the year.
best.
After a
I
pick.
learned everything I needed to know about him with that drive at Penn State.
And not just a touchdown to Cooper at the end, but he converted a couple third downs, hit a big fourth down, and he was backed up coming off of an interception. Penn State is desperate for a win to kind of right their season. I don't buy that. Well, Penn State sucked. They still got 5 stars on that roster. They didn't have a great year. That is a tough environment coming off a pick. Penn State's finally going to get a big win. Nope. He drives them the length of the field to win the game. That's when I really, those 2 games made me go, holy cow. And then they beat Ohio State. He didn't like go off the charts, but he didn't do anything to hurt his team against a great defense. And then the run that he made in the postseason obviously was flawless. So there's a lot there to like. He's not going to go in gym shorts and with all the other quarterbacks that are Arch Manning and Dante Moore, and you're going to be like, who is that? But you put him under center, and you got offensive linemen, you got defenses showing something, they're going to another. He's just a guy that the game makes sense to him. And I think if they can get pieces around him, you got the running game, you got 2 really good tight ends. You just need and I love Clint Kubiak's scheme. They just got to find some weapons on the perimeter. But I'm a fan. Like I said, I'm late. I was late last year, but I'm all in with what this kid can do. And I just love that Kirk Cousins will be there to kind of help him along the way.
Hey, Segs, before you ask the question, I just want to put an exclamation point. I had an offensive coordinator tell me a handful of years ago. I asked him about game management. He said the greatest compliment I can ever give a quarterback is to be the best game manager. Because the best game managers that I've ever seen, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, I played with Warren Moon, Joe Montana. Game managers just as simply because they don't jump off the screen, but when they're done, they always win MVPs and they always win. Their team always wins. I'll take that any day of the week. Segs, continue, brother.
Yeah, when you were talking about the Titans, you mentioned the player that's probably my favorite player in this draft, and that's Reuben Bain. But he's kind of fallen. We, had that issue, not even an issue, just the accident that happened a couple years ago. But the big thing that everybody brings up is the sub 31-inch arms. But you watch this guy through the college football playoff, just wreck game after game after game. What do you think about Reuben Bain as he heads into this NFL draft? Nope, I think we lost him. Yeah, he's getting a phone call, Bailey said, so it might just take a second for him to come back. Yeah, Sean, I mean, Reuben Bain to me is the guy that I think can really
Segs, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah,
I got you. I heard the whole question.
So
right.
Reuben Bain there. What do you think about him?
Yeah, you're right. I did get a call. I didn't know that it would drop me like that. But again, this is another guy, because I did a bunch of Miami games, that if you go to the combine and you line up all the athletes, he might not be a guy because of some of the measurements that you go, holy cow. And he's not super, super twitchy, or he's just first guy off the bus. But I'm a fan of this guy because he sets the edge better than any defensive end I've seen in years, and does it with brutality. He throws linemen around, and I feel like sometimes people are like, yeah, but can he rush the passer? Yeah. And think about this. And this is not an exaggeration because I witnessed it. This guy would practice in the heat in Miami. And from his freshman year on, for 3 years, he would spend 2 or 3 days a week, an hour after practice with Jason Taylor, Hall of Famer, and his defensive line coach, working on rips and working on setting the edge and just working on just the little details with his hand. Think about who he's working with. He's working on his hand movement and just little things. And if you flip on the Ohio State film, which was a really good game for him against a really quality opponent, or Texas A&M when they really were backed up against, into a corner against a tough environment. This guy just, when they needed plays, he always seemed to make them. And again, he's not a guy that maybe he's going to walk into the league and have 15 sacks and everybody's talking about how fast he is, but he's a complete player and he's a worker. And in the world we live in today, that should count for something. Guys that love football and guys that want to work without being like, man, that's not in my contract. I'm not doing that. Like, this guy wants to get better on his own. And I think there's a lot of value there. So I'm a fan of his. I don't know where he's going to go tomorrow night, but I think you're getting a complete player. You're not getting a guy that's going to come in just on third down in a sub package. This guy's going to be able to play every down, and he's only going to get better as a pass rusher. But he's it's kind of like a bull in a china shop is the best way to describe him, with his physical brutality on how he can win at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I think he'll be a fun player to watch. We got you, Sean. I think Sean's having some technical difficulties too. Well, now we can't hear you, Sean. Now they can't hear you.
I don't feel as bad now.
Yeah, there you
Reading Kirk, watching you changing earbuds, and they're all charged. And I don't know what happened. It went haywire. I didn't hear a word he said, but I'm sure it was damn good. What was the topic? So I don't repeat.
It was about Reuben Bain.
There you go.
Reuben Bain, he's got small hands, he's got shorter arms. Think about this. Four times. This is a thing to me. He's a 4-time state champion at Miami Central High School. He goes to Miami when Miami was not Miami of last year, and he willed this team over the last 2 or 3 years. I just think there's a lot of intangibles there that really outweigh. His arms are short, his hands are small. Yeah. His first step is elite. He can bend for his size. He can bend and get around the corner. And like I said, I was talking about how he worked with Jason Taylor for an hour after the Heat practices in the heat of Miami. Jason would work with him from his freshman year on. I was talking with Mario. He's like, we'd be all in, shower, done, getting ready to go eat. We'd look outside, and there's Jason Taylor still working with Reuben Bain. When he was only a freshman, no one really knew. They knew he's a good player, but they didn't know he's going to become this. And I don't know. I just, when I hear stories like that, especially in 2026, I feel like that's a guy. That's a guy you want on your roster.
Kirk, the receiver position, we got some good ones. I think we may go 5 deep possibly in this first round. Let me go to Mekhi Lemon. As a Trojan, I want to know about this guy. When he did his interview and the body language, people talk about a little nonsense. I just know this. He's a football playing Jesse. He attacks the football. He plays great in space. I can move him around. I love him. Where does he fit in this NFL draft in your mind? Is he a great Sunday player?
I think he is. I feel like he's going to dominate in the slot because I think that's where he's going to be. I mean, they can move him around, but I think he's a difficult matchup. What I love is he's got – you probably know him, but when I watch him, whether it's man and understanding leverage or it's zone, and he's got those option routes in the inside, he really does a good job of just kind of finding those soft spots. You can just tell it just seems to be very natural to him. Great ball skills, can win underneath. He's not afraid to win at the second. He obviously has the speed to go to the third level. So I just think that you're right. 4, 5, 6 guys maybe tomorrow night go at that position, but they all are a little bit different. Like Carnell Tate's right. Very different. Jordan Tyson, Concepcion, I feel like even though he's more of a slot, he and Lemon are very different in their skill set. So I think that's what makes it interesting as you're going down. Who needs a receiver? Who's going to pull the trigger? It's really going to come down to what each guy needs. But Lemon exploded this year and took advantage of Lincoln Riley's system. They were able to find a lot of matchups, and I think that'll continue in the NFL.
Hey, Kirk, with the second quarterback that we all believe is Ty Simpson in this draft, 1-year starter at Alabama. The talk about him fluctuates, first rounder to second rounder, second day. Where do you have him? What is this, a first round pick? You think Pittsburgh because of Aaron Rodgers' future? Well, the Jets need a future. Well, Arizona needs a future. Where is this guy going to fit, and what kind of Sunday player is he going to be? You've seen him plenty. Who is he?
Of all the guys in this draft, he needs to go somewhere and get behind a proven starter and not be asked to play. 15 starts. I was shocked that he came out. the two things that shocked me last year, Dante Moore, who was a lot of people were projecting as a top 2 or 3 pick, staying, and then Ty Simpson leaving. I would have thought after watching them play, it would have been maybe the opposite. Even though I think Dante Moore made the right call in coming back and getting more seasoning, especially the way his last game went with the pick 6 on the first play and then fumbling against Indiana, the game was over. I really think Ty Simpson needed another year of college football. I called his last 4 games, maybe 5 games. And if it was in rhythm or it was quick game, late in the year, Alabama's offense was leaking oil, and
Right.
he would be comfortable and accurate. If he had to come off his first read, his footwork would get off. He would backpedal. His head would kind of be. You could just tell. Now he's gifted. I mean, he's got a. You could tell he's one of these guys that's worked on his motion and his throwing mechanics, probably from the time he was in 5th or 6th grade. I mean, it looks pretty coming out. He can move around. He's tough. He's a coach's son. All that stuff's great. But I saw enough. Like, now I called the Georgia game in Athens, and he hit his first 8 third downs, and I was like, holy cow, look at this kid.
Right.
But as you got more and more into it, it just became, and I'm not putting all on him. It just, that offense was really struggling. And because of that, I think it made him hesitant, and it just didn't look like this guy's ready to go play in the NFL. And they look at Carson Beck, who had 2 years at Georgia, ends up having that UCL injury, the surgery in his elbow, goes to Miami, leads Miami to the national championship game, comes up a bit short. And I feel like because he's had so many high profile interceptions, people are kind of down on him, and yet you look at his I think he lost 6 games in 3 years, won a ton of games, played in a lot of tough environments, but he had a turnover problem in about 4 or 5 games. He turned the ball over. But if you look at him, and he's 6'5", 233 pounds, moves around, pretty athletic. I love that he's had some. I love when they've had adversity and a bunch of crap that they've had to overcome in college. And like Arch Manning, oh my God, he's the best to ever play. Now he's the worst to ever play. Like, now, I love that Arch Manning had to go through that. Like, he's going to be better off for going through that. And I feel like Carson Beck, there's really nothing he's going to see in the NFL as far as his pride being affected or being humiliated, or based on what he's already experienced at Georgia, especially. And he got through it. 3-year starter. Like I said, if you watched him throw in person, you and I would turn around and be like, yep.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, 100% has all of it. But you got to hope that he gets into the right system and they can work with him to get those turnovers out of it. But I don't think it's a slam dunk for me that Ty Simpson is that next guy. I feel like that's what all the mock drafts are saying. And I don't be surprised if Carson Beck ends up becoming that number 2 guy. If it happened, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
It's easy to fall in love with his measurables too. And I'm with you. I like to see a guy get kicked in the teeth. I find out more about him than I do if you're constantly winning and have no adversity. It's like, oh boy, this is easy, because it's not going to be easy on Sunday. And with that, and when he walks into the room, his physical presence and measurables jump out, right, Kurt? So with, and plus the pressure of not having to be maybe not a first round pick, even if he goes the second day, he doesn't have to go in with expectations, and then he can shine. All right, give me a perimeter player. I don't care if it's tight end, running back, wide receiver, quarterback, that we're not talking about. You mentioned Beck. Do you think, whether he's a second day guy, do you think that in 3 or 4 years is going to be a monster skill, or maybe even a late first round, early second round guy? Just somebody who's not getting a lot of chatter that you love.
All right, I'm going to look here. Some of my notes for those second kind of tier guys. I like Chris Brazzell, wide receiver at Tennessee, 6'4", about 198 pounds, ran a 4.37 when he went he got timed, and he's got an 80-inch wingspan. He was a one-trick pony early receiver for Josh Heupel. He was just that typical 6'4" guy. You're just running vertical. And then this past year came back much, much more as far as the route tree, cutting it off, working across the middle, showing the toughness. So he really grew, I think, this past year. He would be a guy that I really like. I like the other back at Notre Dame, Price, that not a lot of people are talking about him at all. And I think he's the guy because he was behind, he most of his, by the way, he tore his Achilles his freshman year that really kind of affected his growth, got behind Jeremiah Love, had to work through special teams to kind of get, on track after that Achilles. That's a guy that, again, you love to see that. And then he just played that 1B running back, but I think don't sell him short of what he can be. He can catch the ball to the backfield and do some really good things. I tell you, the guy that I think is outside of the big names you were talking about, and I know he's still a big name, but, and I'm not just saying this because he's a Buckeye, he started at Alabama. Caleb Downs, if you get him, you're getting, and I'm not going to say he's Troy Polamalu or Ed Reed, but he's like a savant as far as his understanding of defense. Some guys they just understand the game. He can come down and play big nickel. He can come down and play big dime. He can play deep safety. And he's one of those guys that's going to affect the building. He's going to be the first guy in. He's going to demand that the whole entire secondary know the defense the way he does. He's just one of those alphas. So again, 6 feet, 206, ran a 4.4, all that, and made all the plays at Alabama and Ohio State. But way beyond that is how he's going to impact the entire building just by being on the team. So
I think he's a monster.
Very serious. Just one of those guys that's really serious, very serious. He's just there to work, And I think with the versatility and the command that he'll have of a defense. Keep in mind, he just did Matt Patricia, who brought that NFL style defense. They had him down doing everything. And Patricia's like, man, I haven't been around many guys like this ever. So Caleb Downs, I think, is a guy, I don't know where he's going, but it's going to be hard for people not to take him super early.
Yeah, Stakes, you got one more question for a couple more minutes with Kirk Herbstreit. We'll hear from our friends at Augusta Precious Metals after. Stakes, what you got for him?
Yeah, you mentioned how big the tight end position has come. And, another one of my favorite players in this is Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. We saw what Colson Loveland did for the Bears. We saw what Tyler Warren did for the Colts last year. What does this guy bring to an offense that, if he's put in the right system, what can he bring? And can he make that immediate impact that Loveland and Warren did last year?
Wow. I mean, he is he's probably the most physically gifted player, like for his position in the draft. I think he ended up 6'3", 241, ran a 4.39 with a 43-inch vertical. I mean, those are obviously wide receiver numbers.
Those are AI numbers, Kurt. Those are AI numbers. Somebody's lying to us, right? He's a freak.
Yeah, I mean, that's the greatest numbers, I think, in the history of the combine. But I think more importantly, you turn on the film and you're like, I mean, this guy will play in line, and he's gotten a lot better to block because, like you just mentioned, some of those tight ends from last year, they're not just split out and just running routes. And to make these 2 and 3 tight end sets work, you got to have a guy that's willing to not. You know what he's doing. You got to have a guy that's willing to still be involved in the physicality of the game. I think he's going to continue to get better at that aspect of his game. But what a nightmare of a matchup for safeties, for nickels, for linebackers. He separates against man coverage. He's got big, strong hands, great body control. I don't know if Oregon's system fully, because they had so many different ways to attack, I don't know if they fully needed to exploit his skill set the way I think the NFL will. But I can't wait to see where he goes, number one. and then how they use him. But I'm glad you brought him up. I mean, he needs to probably put on another 8 or 10 pounds over the next couple of years, get up around 248, 250, to go along with that physicality and that speed that he has. Wow, what a great future he has.
And before we let you go, I think that, Kirk, when you mention a guy like that, the first thing that comes to our mind when I think combine freaks, those guys who are off the charts measures, is he's an athlete, not a football player. But this dude is a football player that happens to be a freak show that dresses in a phone booth. So he's one of my, watching this, I'm wondering, he seems like a guy that somebody say, I'm going to go up 7 picks to get this guy because he may be around doing this in a decade. I think he's an interesting watch. Let me finish with this. The team may have something to do with the draft, but this question doesn't. You'll cover him a lot. I haven't got your insight on Kyle Whittingham as the new coach at University of Michigan. What will it mean for the program?
Well, you know what he did for Utah for all those years. And I think, as you know, I have a son on the team, and what I watched, I went to their spring game. You don't learn a lot about the spring game. I just know him, and I know what he does in recruiting, the type of kids that he'll bring in. They're just going to get back to the Michigan brand. I mean, I don't know if you could, other than Matt Campbell, maybe at Iowa State, I don't know if you could handpick a better guy to kind of get them back to who I'm going back to like Bo Schembechler, Lloyd Carr, and that's offensive linemen. That's defensive linemen. That's winning the line of scrimmage. Really good fundamentals, not hurting yourself, not losing the game, just kind of imposing your will on your opponent. Where he's changed over the years is his offensive system. And I think Bryce Underwood will really flourish in kind of the misdirection, using a quarterback that has the ability to kind of run the football, play out on the perimeter, be a threat with his legs and his arm. And I think that'll be something that really fits in, like I said, with the skill set that Bryce has. And I think more than anything, he's just going to be tough. Like the strength program is tough. What they demand of them is going to be tough. And that's how you beat people. You don't always have to have I read one of the GMs said you got to have a $80 million or $100 million payroll or some shit like that. I mean, like Indiana didn't have that. They won a national championship. You need toughness.
Right.
You need toughness, and you need team.
And high football IQ. Yeah. No doubt. Individual, money. Who can break that down like Kurt Signetti and build us? It's still a team game. It's still about this wins. 11 playing together still wins. It wins in Pee Wee, it wins in high school, it wins in college, and it wins in the NFL. And before I let you go, I lied. I got one more, which leads me to Lincoln Riley's team. There can be no excuses now, right, Kirk? And I think one of the great offseason hires that's not a head coach is Gary Patterson. I think he is phenomenal. Yes. I don't think there's any excuses. I think heads will roll if they're not in the playoff. Tell me just your overall synopsis of where the Trojans fit in your mind and what Gary Patterson's bringing to them this year in 2026.
Well, I think Gary Patterson, a lot of us thought, okay, he got done at TCU at his age. Maybe he's going to get away from the game and go play his guitar and sing some songs and kind of be done with it all, right?
Right.
And then he ended up at Texas, and I'm sure he still has the bug, and now he's at SC. And he can't help to be who he is, and which is a very intense guy. Let's be honest about Lincoln Riley. He's had some great teams and some great offenses and some great quarterbacks, but he's never had a complete team, right? And I think at SC, people, and this is your squad, I mean, people really wanted to see instant results, right? And I get that at a program like SC, but it's almost like they had to go through 2 or 3 years of kind of taking their training wheels off to learn what his system is and to learn what it takes to win. They're in a new conference, which is a different style of ball. And if you don't have a defense, you have no chance of winning in the Big Ten. And it's not one game, it's 12. And I'm excited to see what Gary Patterson will do. We know Lincoln Riley's going to score. We know the quarterback's back and he's going to have skill. That's a given. But can they get back to – I mean, when was the last time SC won with defense. I mean,
My head's exploded, Kirk. My head and a bunch of the guys I talked to that played there that were deep. The lack of physicality on the interior and for a while, even on the offense, like I said, we'll finesse your ass to death. And Lincoln's brilliant with that. But the last time you walked down the tunnel and said, we're in for a physical ass whooping if we don't show up today on defense.
Who was it?
Guys are turning over in their grave. It's been too long, my man.
Ray Maluga? I think it's Ray Maluga and Clay Matthews. I mean, that was 07, 08, 09. I mean, and one thing in defense of Lincoln Riley, he had some great quarterback play, but one of the aspects of his game when Oklahoma was really going was they would run for 250, 270. Right. They had offensive linemen going to the NFL. They had backs. Like they got, when he's rolling, his counter play and the play action off of that, the linebackers doesn't know if it's coming or going. You don't know what's going on, and you have to respect the run game. They got to get back to that, and I just hope, I don't know, I haven't followed their recruiting. I really don't pay attention to it until guys are in their uniforms in college. Mm-hmm. I hope they get back to, like you said, and make Ronnie Lott proud and make your buddies that live and die on Saturdays with the Trojans. I hope they get back to bullying people, but it's been too long, man. It's been too long. We miss that brand being that brand, and here's to them being back this year.
And as we go, I'm standing on the sidelines of that national championship game when Vince Young was dressing in a phone booth. And first of all, it was one of these things is not like the other. Marcus is on one side, Ronnie, Anthony Munoz, and me. It's like, all these guys, and then this dude, right? So I'm standing there, and when we don't get that first down with Reggie on the sideline with Lendell White, they turn around, and Vince is running rough. Dude, I'm telling you. And Ronnie's off the field. You wouldn't think Ronnie was the trained killer he was off the field. Just the greatest dude in the world. And he's standing there looking at me. I'm looking, dude, the jaw starts to clench. And I looked at him. I said, you're not allowed, dude, don't run on the field. I mean, it was as if Ronnie, and I'll guarantee you one thing, he would have knocked the living dog shit out of you in his pants and in his golf shirt. Somebody would have paid. So that was a team that was physical.
They're shooting those out. Both the corners. They were little guys.
Yes.
They're twins, I think. They were blitzing them. And Pete was trying to come up with anything he could to slow down. Vince Young was on a mission, as we know that night. And they lost him chain. They took Frosty Rucker on a twist to the inside, and it just left the outside, and he just took off to the corner for the touchdown.
Smoke was coming out of Ronnie's ears, and I'm thinking, Ronnie, you have no eligibility left, although I'd sure love to see it. So, and now the Trojans are ready to get back to that, and let's hope Gary Patterson and Lincoln have that fixed. My man, I've used too much of your time up. I know you're busy. It's your supposed off season. Enjoy that great dog. I'm staring at 3 of them myself that want to get on camera. I'm not letting them. And kick ass in the draft. And obviously, we'll lean on you and have you back. But phenomenal insight to the best in the business. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. The game day, if you guys like to watch the draft, the game day version of the draft is on ABC. And then Mel and those guys are on ESPN. But me, Saban, Reese, Dez, we'll be on ABC doing the draft and giving it a totally different feel.
Well, let me give you a little idea of where the hell I'm going to be watching, okay? Yeah, just so we all clear it up, I have a real good idea what my TV is going to be on when it happens. So you can guarantee that, and I know what I'm going to get. Can't wait to see it, brother. What a brilliant move by them and ABC to do this, to have both, but to have that group on there, because there is no better. I know Charles Barkley's going to argue with us, but that's a different sport. No better pregame show on the planet, brother, and you're the best in the world at what you do. We appreciate it. And have a great draft, and we'll be watching.
Thanks. See you, fellas. Take care, man.
Yeah, thanks. That's the great Kirk Herbstreit. Segs, get your TV program to ABC.
I always watch. I'd rather watch the college guys that know about these guys.
Well, they're watching every week. They're talking to them.
Yeah, game in, game out, and not just watching film. That's what I always prefer. So they've been doing it now for a few years. I always watch
Kirk.
And now you get Saban on there.
I was going to say, you ain't getting any sugarcoating from Nick Saban on this. Right. He'll make sure he tells you. And with that whole group from Dez and Herbstreit, and I'm assuming Pat's going too. Is Pat going to be a part of it? I'm assuming. Yeah,
I'm sure.
So, and then the great Reese Davis. So you get it on both, whatever you prefer.
Well, and then you also have Kirk, who is now calling Thursday night games, so he's really involved with the NFL teams. So he's not only just talking about the players that are drafted. Now we can add in what it brings to the Bears or the Raiders or the Colts or whoever, he helps
me
in
tell
that
you-
way too.
Unless craziness goes, and we'll hit Augusta Precious Metals before Segs come and I come back for about 10 minutes and finish this thing up.
Yeah.
Segs, Kirk Herbstreit does not spew hot takes.
No.
I've known him for we're in 30 years or so, Segs. And when he tells you something, he tells you something that without putting a guarantee, he tells you something that he knows.
Yeah.
If you pay close attention, which you do and I do. And over the years, I've learned, unless something crazy happens in this first 4 picks, the Tennessee Titans are going to draft Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
For all the we're sitting here thinking about it, thinking, I was at a place with Brian Dable and Robert Saleh. And without a hot take, and it's just a subtle way to say, keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on the Carson Beck stuff.
Yep.
So when Kirk does it, there's a subtle way of saying, and that's why you watch him, because he's talked to the coaches, he's talked to the players. He's not a hot take guy trying to mock I get why guys do it. You keep an eye on that now. Jeremiah Love ain't falling past the 4th pick in this draft. And if Tennessee's sitting there with the chance to take Reese or him or Sonny Styles, it may very well be Jeremiah Love. I read through those lines when Kirk's talking.
And with that, to kind of, invalidate it even more is the fact that that's why we're hearing so much about the Arizona Cardinals in pick 3 that, we'll just take Jeremiah Love, trying to get some team, whoever it is behind them, that wants to come up and get Jeremiah Love, basically saying you got to get to 3 to get it done.
Agreed.
Because at 4, they're going for that franchise face, that we just talked about with the Cardinals, how it could be the wrong decision and it could not work in Tennessee. But like he said, you got the new stadium coming. You've got your quarterback. You need to give him another weapon. It's Tennessee and Arizona are in 2 different places. Tennessee has a quarterback. You got to start going hard. And if they think it's the running back over, say, a wide receiver, then that's on them, and we'll see how it works out.
Segs, sometimes the needle movers just aren't on the field. You need quantum leaps off the field and attention to your program or your team, correct? And I think he had made that mention. But listen, he talks to these guys, so you tune in tomorrow, and it's always great to have him on as a regular here on Unpaved. Segs, get us to commercial. We'll come back and finish this thing up.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll recap a couple other things he said that I have written down here. But first, tell me about Augusta Precious Metals.
Augusta Precious Metals. Guys, when you're protecting what you've already earned, IRA, 401k, it's not taxed when it comes to gold and silver and precious metals. Let's discuss moving forward how you're going to protect what you've already earned. Protect what matters most with gold and silver. Augusta Precious Metals is your premier gold IRA company. Diversify, protect, preserve, hedge against inflation. That's what this does. Precious metals, they are tangible assets. Protect retirement savings. That retirement you've already earned, is cash doing that? Physical gold and silver, education first approach, no sales tactics at Augusta Precious Metals. That's why I was drawn to them. Drawn to them because they're not pressuring you and hammering you over the head with something. They're trying to educate you so you know what's best for you, your family, your peace of mind, your security now, later, and in the distant future. How much time you have, how much money you have. Precious Metals. It's your premier gold IRA company. That is Augusta Precious Metals. Secure your future with tangible assets. Visit SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Gold and silver continue to rise. And it's one of those, there's no guarantees in life or in sports or in money, but I'll be damned if gold and precious metals isn't about as close as you're going to get. Text Sean to 35052. Again, there's no guarantees, but there is a guarantee that you'll get educated on precious metals. Again, text Sean to 35052 or go to SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Free information, no obligation, guidance, education, and confidence. SeanBuysGold.com.
All right, thanks to Augusta Precious Metals as always. All right, just about 10 more minutes here, then we'll wrap up. A couple
Good
other
stuff,
things he talked about.
I learn a lot from him every time. I love it.
Yeah, let's start. You asked him about the wide receivers, in specific Mekhi Lemon out of USC. A trend I did see, and he talked very highly of him, talked about how smart he was, how you can trust him to always be in the right space, all that stuff. One trend we have seen from the Schrager, Zerline, and what was the other one? I'm so bad at remembering stuff.
Schrager,
McShay.
Zerline, and McShay. Yeah.
They all had him going 16, and I think 24. So they did not have him in the top half of the first round. They all had Mekhi Lemon in the bottom half. Now we'll see. Two of those, the 16 is to the Jets, where we talked about that could be a good landing spot for them. But also they don't have that. They have Geno Smith. They don't have that young quarterback to grow with at this moment. We'll see if that changes. What do you make of, first of all, what he said about Mekhi Lemon, and then this little trend we saw in these last mock drafts that came out this morning of him being in the back half of the first round?
Well, and I think for the most part, say when we started the process of this, when the offseason hit, and if we could pop back up there with Ari's group, so I can just do a little comparison. Schrager is very good, Segs, and I'm just saying I don't know who Ari had as who did he have as his first receiver?
I believe it was Carnell Tate at
right, which is I think that's
7.
That is.
Or no, he had Jordan Tyson at 5. Excuse me, I missed that.
Segs, I was about to say, I figure Tate's going to be, just by all accounts, the pick, and I may lean towards Lemon because I've seen more of him just because of every week, right? Even though I've watched Tyson and Tate and University of Washington and University of IU, seen them all, and I think there's a good 4, and I do think we got 5 going in the first round. I do. And there's a lot of people who love Jordan Tyson more than any of them. I told you, Segs, that I thought that if he was available when the Chiefs picked, that they'd go jump all over him. I still am not convinced, and Caleb Downs would be great if he's available. I saw one that has Downs going 9 to the Chiefs. Well, there it is. In Ari going to the Chiefs. I get it. And he's an impact guy. But the offense and adding, and they need some of that burst with, the kid from Texas, and adding to that speed. And I still don't know. I think Kansas City's got 2 or 3 places they can go. I'm not shocked at Lemon, and it will not shock me if he is picked past 14 or 15 or 16
right.
seconds. It won't, because I think when we started this, a lot of times, here's what we do. And Segs, we had talked about this. Why does this stuff happen? What happens is guys talk themselves into it in the offseason, and then they talk themselves out of it. They get closer and they talk to more people, and they talk themselves into basically where we were when the whole thing started.
Yeah.
Tyson and Tate were going to be up a little higher. Mekhi Lemon fit in the middle of this draft, and here's where we are. It won't surprise. I'm going to tell you this. If the Giants or somebody get him at that spot, or the Jets get him down farther, Segs, and you said 16, right?
Yeah, 16 for the Jets. That's what Ari has as well.
I think it'll end up being legalized theft if they got a quarterback that can get him the ball. I do, and that's fine. I do and I think that Tyson will probably end up going higher, and I do think that Tate will. So what it is, Segs, it tells me once all the chatter, you start to settle in. And all 3 of these receivers are very, very capable and very, quite frankly, should be top 15, top 16 picks. I get it, but I'm just telling you, and I think it's a solid top of the heap. I'm telling you, I think that the 4th and 5th receiver in this draft can go in and impact and end up being maybe as good as some of the guys in front of them. So for me, I get why they're doing it. You get him at 16, you're the Jets. I'll give the Jets a thumbs up, especially if they get somebody high. Then you get a David Bailey. I'll say that's a hell of a first round. More pressure now on this coaching staff to get some shit done. Doesn't surprise me, Segs, but I know this, that those 3 guys in those first 16 picks at wide receiver will be penciled in right away and expected to dominate quickly as a wide receiver, because you can make quick adjustments at receiver. The days have changed. Receiver used to struggle at times. The way they're playing and getting off, and the way we've opened up the field for wide receivers between Tyson and Mekhi Lemon and obviously Carnell Tate, you get 3 guys in the first 16 picks. I can't fathom any of them going further than that. And Lemon probably will be the 3rd pick. But if you take a flyer on him, you're not going to be disappointed higher than that. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and then one other trend we've seen that popped up this morning, that if you're a bettor, you like to bet on this NFL draft, and you like to say this team will take this player, and it doesn't matter which pick, so they can trade and still get that guy. Put your money on the Cleveland Browns and Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle out of Utah. I had not seen him mocked to them at all. All of a sudden this morning, we wake up, Everybody has all four, Ari, Schrager, Zerline, and McShay, all have the Cleveland Browns taking Spencer Fano. 3 of them have them taking at 6. One has a trade down. I can't remember where they traded down to. It was maybe 12, and they get Spencer Fano at 12. So if you like to take those bets that you see the clear trends that come up at this time of day or this time of year with the NFL draft, Spencer Fano and the Cleveland Browns, something must be being leaked about that because every single person has it, even over Francis Manoa, who has a herniated disc in his back that could drop him. We'll see how far he falls in the draft if that is a scare to teams.
Sigs, where did two things? Where did Fano play his college ball?
Utah.
Yeah. Who coached
Kyle
him?
Whittingham.
Well, if you're NFL head coach and you're saying, what guy do I trust to have coached him NFL style with physicality and what we need? There's not 3 of them in college football you trust more. I'm just telling you, there's not. Aside from the player, I do think when you say, okay, how is he trained and taught and to play? Nasty, physical, and let's plug him in. And like I say, when you draft a guy in that position, guess what they're counting on? See you in 10 years, dude.
Yep.
I'll see you in 10 years. That position's safe. They need it. They've had some changes. They've lost some of the big fellas. They need to get back to doing that. I think that's a safe bet. And they wake up and when somebody's finally saying, this is a pick, and if you're the Browns, you can't miss. And guess what? One of the safer guarantees in this draft, if there is anything close to a guarantee, is that. And the guy who coached him, his head coach in college, reeks of physicality and nasty when it comes to producing those type of players. I love it, and I think that's a pretty safe call by you.
And to even validate that point even more, his other tackle, the right tackle, Caleb Lomu, is at 19 in this draft, going to the Carolina Panthers. So
you think that's by coincidence, brother?
No. Nope.
Yeah, me either.
Yep.
Good players that got great and were coached by a guy. And you know if they call up Kyle Whittingham, he's going to be honest. And guess what? You get 2 guys that should be playing a lot of football for a long time.
Yeah, I definitely a guy you want to follow in your college. If you're looking for offensive linemen, look where Kyle Whittingham is. Normally there's at least one NFL high draft pick on his line pretty much year after year.
Kyle Whittingham's players, and you're going to find this out, and you know this, but at your university, they're not backing down from anybody's fist fight. I promise you that.
Right.
And but both of them, you just can't say physical. You got to have some good feet and good punch and good hands, and hence why both of them are first-round picks and should be pretty impactful and start from day one on their franchises.
Yeah. Well, Kirk Herbstreit was awesome as always, and at the end, he's one. I tried to do a mock draft and it got screwed up this morning. I was going to give it to Bailey to show either today or tomorrow. But I never know where to put Caleb Downs. He's the one guy I just don't know because of the position. We haven't had a top 10 safety since 2017 with Jamal Adams when he went to the Jets at 6. It's just a position.
This guy's far more versatile than Jamal Adams.
Oh, 100%.
Far more.
But also, this draft is very deep in safety. So I never know where to put Caleb Downs. But listening to Kirk Herbstreit talk about Caleb Downs, just somebody draft him and you're getting arguably the best player in the draft.
Yeah, he sat down with them, Segs, Herbstreit plenty of times to cover Ohio State, sat down and kind of got, you jump into their head and find out what kind you teach me. And I think it's important, meaning the player teaches you. Here's what I believe. I told you how I feel about Jeremiah Love. I think just the 2 purest, best football players on either side of the ball. Doesn't mean, listen, safeties don't go 1, 2, and 3, right. In that time. They just don't, usually. I think that on both sides of the ball, I think that you can make not just a solid argument, but a really, top shelf argument that Caleb Downs on defense, and whether they have the greatest production, because he's so versatile. I'm just talking about football players.
Yeah.
I can make the argument that Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs on their side of the ball are the 2 best football players in this draft.
Yes.
And I'll stand on a hill for that one and die on that hill and pound the table. I think that as close to can't miss at their positions, both of them fill in that void. I really
Sean,
believe that.
Think of this for Caleb Downs. Spent his first couple of years, Alabama with Nick Saban, arguably the best defensive back coach we've ever seen. Then he goes to Ohio State and plays for Matt Patricia in an NFL-style defense that he learned and knew more about probably than Matt Patricia did. by the time
Right.
he was done in his couple years at Ohio State. So a kid coming out with those two coaches playing under the GOAT and Nick Saban, and then in an NFL defense with Matt Patricia. I mean, you can't go really wrong with Caleb Downs, even if you have safeties.
How many people has Patricia coached that are great football players? And when he talks, like Kirk Street said, I don't know if I've ever had a guy like this. And even though he's not with Nick anymore, go ask Nick Saban what he thinks about Caleb Downs.
Exactly.
And he will. And I
was
got news
pissed
for you.
when he left.
It's damn right. It isn't going to be negative when you hear other than, well, I would have rather had him on my team than I would on somebody else's team. And when that guy's telling you as the best, where his baby is the secondary, listen, Caleb Downs is the guy you walk into a room and a coach is teaching on the board and he sits down and says something. Coach says, take it away, man, teach the room. And you don't have 1 ounce of worry. And I loved what Herb Street said when he said he's going to hold everybody accountable. It's not just me who's going to know all 4 positions or 6 positions if we're in dime or nickel. You're all going to know it. And if you don't, I'm going to check your ass. Type of football you want. A coach's dream across the board. Caleb Downs will be a top 10 pick and Jeremiah Love, and we will see them both as all-pro players as they're moving forward, regardless of where they're drafted here.
Yeah. All right, that'll do it for Unpaved. Again, thanks to Kirk Herbstreit. Phenomenal, as always. We'll have him on later this summer as we start getting
little
ready.
Sound adversity with me, getting Herbie on with his sound, and we overcome it, Segs.
Yeah.
We overcome.
Hey, that's what good teams do, right? They overcome adversity.
Amen.
So we'll be back tomorrow. We'll give you the latest leading up to the NFL draft as it kicks off tomorrow. I thought it was 7 p.m. Eastern. It's not till 8 p.m. Eastern. I mean, damn, my Bears aren't going to draft till damn near 10 o'clock. So
that phone works. When you roll over in bed, grab it, and there you go.
Yep. And I'll just have the Kirk Herbstreit and
Reese
Davis and the ABC show version of the NFL draft on. Get over to YouTube at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. Follow Sean at Sean Unfiltered, myself at Adam G. Sager. Thanks to Bailey and Laura, who are behind the scenes, making us look and sound great and getting all your social media clips out there that you guys see every single day. And thanks to our viewers, listeners, and commenters. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk NFL draft. We'll talk a little NBA playoffs. Wemby's injury, Steve Kerr sounds like he's going to leave the Golden State Warriors.
Well, what's next? Let's talk that too. What's next for Steve Kerr?
Well, and there's a little kind of circle, a little loop that I think could happen. I know one party kind of threw some water on it, but I still think it's possible, and it's something I'll bring up tomorrow as well. And then we'll continue to talk NFL draft and give you the latest rumors leading into the draft. And then Friday, we'll break it all down for you, the first round. So we'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Unpaved, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.